Hello, everybody. Welcome back into a Tuesday edition of Prime Sports World. And on today's show, we're going to be breaking down some overreactions, underreactions, just some reactions to what's happened so far in the 2022 preseason, week number 3, which is now the final week of the NFL preseason, as the NFL teams all did a bunch of cuts today as well. Players got cut, trimmed it down to their 53-man roster. That all happened today. If you're looking for consistent content on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Prime Sports World is a pretty good place to hang out. We go live basically every single day, bringing the most up-to-date content we can, including today's show where we break down, some goings on in the preseason. We're also going to talk about some storylines. There was a bunch of news in the NBA, a bunch of trades that happened between a bunch of teams, and a bunch of really shocking cuttings. Notably, a first-round pick that was just drafted last season got cut. We're going to talk about that, if that's something, nothing, or everything, and some news going around the National Football League. Also, if you want to join us and talk about any of this stuff, I have posted the StreamYard link into our main Prime Sports World Facebook page. It's also on our YouTube. It's also on my Twitter at PSW_David. Please like, share, and subscribe to the show. That's how we build up this brand. I'm, of course, your host, David On Point. I'm running this show solo for right now, but I'm hoping somebody's going to jump in the show and kind of join me when it comes to this particular show. If you want to join me and talk a little bit of NFL preseason action, we would greatly appreciate that because we do like to have fan interaction here at Prime Sports World. The show is more fun for us when we get some interaction from you guys, the fans. We get NFL fans come into the show and kind of break down some stuff with us. It makes for a much more entertaining product. That is for sure. So if you have the time, let's talk some NFL. I would greatly appreciate it as well because I'm kind of sort of here by myself right now. Let's get into some of the stuff that's going on in week number 3. I just got to finish posting this StreamYard link into a couple different places, and then we will get on with it. On with the show. Also, if you guys put down in your comment section, how do you guys think your team fared so far in the entire preseason? And was there any notable cuts on your team that you're surprised are no longer on your NFL roster? I know if you're a Las Vegas Raider fan, you probably scratch your head a little bit wondering why a certain somebody was released. It doesn't make a lot of financial sense to make that decision, but the Raiders decided that was the choice they were going to make. I also don't understand I don't understand a bunch of stuff the Las Vegas Raiders did over the last 24 to 48 hours. So if you can help me make sense of it, we would greatly appreciate that for sure. So let's get into it. First of all, overreaction. Let's talk about the Browns. They don't look ready for the regular season. So this is an overreaction, underreaction, or just right. This is coming off of their first preseason or their third preseason game against the Chicago Bears, where our boy Justin Fields looked like an all-pro out there, throwing 3 touchdowns in the first half. Looked really well. But first time Jacoby Brissett started at quarterback for the Cleveland Browns in a preseason game. He'll be starter for the first 11 games of the season, so it's good to get some reps under his belt. Our first 12 games, actually. I think 11 was the bye. They often started slow, failing to get a first down until the third drive of the game. The defense started allowing the Bears quarterback to torch them from downfield gains because they were on the field for so long. I think this is actually probably just about right when it comes to reaction to the Cleveland Browns. I mean, they've been dancing around with this Deshaun Watson situation, and how could you get a quarterback ready to play if you constantly think that Deshaun Watson is going to be your guy? You didn't even play Jacoby Brissett until the third preseason game. It doesn't make any sense. Deshaun Watson should not even have played in a preseason game when you knew he got suspended. The fact that is a little bit reckless to me. They played. I know he was probably rusty for not playing for a year, but you knew he wasn't going to be available the first 6 games of the season, at least at the very minimum. Then you get an 11-game suspension. You still only give Jacoby Brissett 1 game to be the starter. I just don't get it. It's a lot of very head-scratching decision, but to say the least. I think this is actually just one just right. Buffalo Bills, staying in the AFC, talking about the Buffalo Bills and their little bit of inconsistencies on offense. 1 second. Another thing. So Bills led all teams in the 3 games, scoring 87 points scored, and looked unstoppable in Game 2 against the Denver Broncos with 6 straight touchdowns to start the game. But they followed it up a week later with a goose egg versus the Carolina Panthers. So a little bit of inconsistencies. They have some inconsistency at the offensive line, and the really inconsistency is about who's the other wide receivers outside of Gabriel Davis and Stephon Diggs. And Dawson Knox, his situation with his brother passing away recently. So that's kind of a dicey situation as well. I'm not worried about Buffalo. This is a way overreaction. Their offense is going to be fine. I have more question marks about their defense, and we'll get to that when we get to the news portion of this show, which is the second half of this show. But Buffalo, offensively, not worried whatsoever. Let me know down in the comment section if you're worried about Buffalo offensively, because I think Josh Allen's still got to be the favorite to be the MVP of the league. That's for sure how I feel about it. And I think that's how a lot of people feel, like preseason prediction, that Buffalo will be that Josh Allen will be a perennial MVP candidate for sure. So this is the next one is a topic that I really wish TJ was here for the show on, because I think his opinion would be interesting on this particular topic. When it comes to Aaron Donald should be suspended for using a helmet during a practice fight with Cincinnati. I don't know if you've seen the picture, but Aaron Donald and the Los Angeles Rams and the Cincinnati Bengals had a joint practice, and it developed into a skirmish where Aaron Donald used a Cincinnati Bengal helmet to smack another player. He was wearing his helmet, so I mean, it wasn't nearly as bad as maybe the Giles Garrett thing that happened a couple years ago, 2 years ago. But I think this is just right. I think it's such a bad precedent for if the league just doesn't do anything about this. I think Aaron Donald, because he's looked up by so many players in the NFL, so many young kids in the NFL. There's no room for in football for any level of swinging for a helmet as a weapon. This should be a suspendable offense. It sends a horrible message to all the young players who look up to him. It's a terrible look. I think it's so dangerous. I think in order to keep this out of the NFL, I think you have to make a statement here. I think you got to suspend Aaron Donald. Do I think the NFL will? No, 0 chance. Aaron Donald is too popular a player. He's on a team that's arguably the best team in the NFC. The chances that he gets suspended for this infraction is 0. But I think the conversation should definitely be had about if this should be a suspendable offense, because nobody's talking about it, but it's something that I would seriously consider talking about it for sure. Moving on to the next one, staying in the AFC, we go swinging from the NFC to the AFC. This time we're going to talk about George Pickens. And hold on one second. I gotta figure out where I found this one from. So just give me 1 second. Here it is. Aha. So George Pickens is wide receiver 1 for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Welcome into the show, TJ. Welcome into the show, TJ. What's up, buddy? Welcoming into TJ Hopkins. I cannot currently hear you, but do you want to react to what I just talked about with the Aaron Donald thing?
Can you hear me now?
You're very low. There you go. There you go. Yeah, you're still pretty low, but.
Okay. I didn't hear what you said about Aaron Donald, though.
Okay, so I'm on the third reaction there. Aaron Donald should be suspended for using a helmet during a practice fight versus Cincinnati, and I said I think it's a suspendable offense. Do I think the NFL will? No chance. I think he might get fined for it, but I just think it sets such a lot of young kids look up to Aaron Donald. They expect him to be a role model, and for him to swing a helmet at another player, I think the NFL has to at least say something about it.
No, they don't.
Overreaction or underreaction, just right.
Overreaction. Like they talked about this on I forgot what show, but if the NFL wants to go in and do that, then guess what you're gonna have to do? every single joint practice, every single team practice, you're gonna have to monitor, and no one wants to put up with that because fights happen. Fights happen, like fights, like team, like when
I
teams
know,
practice.
but the fact that the picture came out, I think is really what
Okay,
because
it's a picture, right? Like all we
no,
saw was a picture of him holding two Bengals helmets. Like the report of him
one of them.
swinging, like the report of him swinging a helmet at another guy. Like we don't. That's just a report. Like it was not like that. We just have to go off of what people have to say. And again, the NFL cannot step in and say, Aaron Donald, you're suspended for that because then you're going to have to go into every single practice, every single
I,
joint practice,
I
and
also said
monitor.
this. I also said this was an overreaction, but I could see a scenario where they fine him maybe for it. Let's
That's
move on
it.
to moving on to
It's
the
like
fourth one. George Pickens, wide receiver one in Pittsburgh, based on his preseason week 3. 3 catches, 35 yards, and he was basically was locked up with Jeffrey Okuda in the whole game. I know that Deontay Johnson got injured early, but is George Pickens the wide receiver one in Pittsburgh already?
if he's not already, it's gonna be pretty soon, like week 3 soon. Like you still got Chase Claypool on that roster, and I don't care what you think about Chase Claypool, the guy can play.
Oh, I love Chase
Um,
Claypool. I got nothing bad to say about him, man.
well, no, I'm not. Well, I know you don't, but I'm not. I'm just saying, like in general.
I love Chase Claypool.
Uh, I wouldn't go as far as calling Deontay Johnson a number one. Like you can, right? You can argue that
I
he
think the
is.
argument is I think he is probably their number one.
And so I again, like if it's not already, it's pretty soon.
Yeah, I think it's
Like,
coming. Moving on to the fifth one. This involves the Baltimore Ravens. Demarcus Robinson will end up being wide receiver one for the Baltimore Ravens. This is coming off of his week 3 performance, where he had 4 catches for 135 yards, including a 67-yard touchdown from Anthony Brown.
sorry,
Yeah.
I had to pick something.
Yeah, big game against the Commanders.
Yeah, I don't think that's close. Like I think, well, first off, like we already know who option number one is. It's Mark Andrews. So is like I kind of feed them, the Ravens and Kansas City in the same boat. Like like your tight end is your receiver number one. Right? Like
I
so
agree with you, but when it comes to wide receiver one, I think Marcus Robinson could be. I mean, he's talented. He can play. I think this one's probably just right.
Yeah, considering who else they have on that roster, who else do they have? Right? Like that's a serious question.
I mean, Rashad Bateman has really not proved anything in the NFL. Elvis Duvernay, whatever his first name is, has proved even less in the NFL. So yeah, I think yeah, it's definitely one of those. It's definitely one of those situations where they don't have a lot of other wide receivers. Demarcus Robinson stepped up in a big way. I think he through one preseason game and showed that this guy has the talent to be the number one wide receiver, and I think he will be. So this one's just right.
Yeah.
And then the final one, before we get into some news, Sam Ellinger should be the backup quarterback in Indianapolis, based on the fact that he's been incredible so far in the preseason. It's not. I don't know if he goes cut during the cutdown day. I don't believe so. But I could be wrong because most teams don't keep 3 quarterbacks. But Sam Ellinger should be their number 2 quarterback, even over Nick Foles. Just right. Overreaction, underreaction.
Inconclusive. Like that's just me. Yeah, you're right. Most teams don't keep 3 quarterbacks. I don't know when that trend became a trend because it used to be pretty common, right, to have to have 3 quarterbacks, and now you're down to 2 quarterbacks and a bunch of everything else, and I don't know. Like I wouldn't hate the idea. Like he was great. Like he was great in preseason, but You also got to
Okay,
keep that.
again, it's preseason. This is an overreaction. Nick Foles is the
It's
Super Bowl MVP,
it's
and
it's season, and you got to keep in mind like Sam
and
is in the
and
same.
and
Yes,
everybody in Indianapolis is coaching for their job. So if Matt Ryan was to get hurt, Nick Foles makes more sense for people keeping their jobs
with
than Sam Ehlinger. Like it's just a fact.
and Sam Ellinger was also going up against the same level of competition, right? Like guys
Yeah.
trying to secure an NFL job, make a roster, all that good stuff. So, like, he had that one, what was it, 44-yard scramble where it's like,
Yeah.
that's
It was
cool.
a bunch of missed tackles, and he was like juking people. Like, yeah, it was rough. Before we move on to the news, you want to react to some of the other stuff. So real quick, the Browns, they don't look ready at all for the regular season. Underreaction, overreaction, just right.
Just right. Like, it's, again, like, when you come into it, like, when you make the move that you made, you're under the impression that I don't know why they even thought that they were going to have Watson for the whole season.
I don't know why he even played a single preseason game. Like I know he was probably trying to shake off the rust, but Jacoby Brissett should have taken every snap in preseason, every game.
Every game, like for the preparation of
Yeah.
for a suspension coming. That way, Jacoby Brissett can develop the rapport with the David Njoku, with the Amari Cooper, with I forgot who else Rashad
They got
Higgins.
Anthony Schwartz. I mean, Rashad
Okay,
Higgins
so-
isn't on the team anymore.
Yeah,
I
I
don't
was
think.
gonna say Rashad Higgins is no longer there. He's in Carolina with Baker.
Yeah.
Nonetheless, like you got that. Then you also have the Kareem Hunt requesting the trade situation like that. That's no like that is an anthill compared to what's really going on. Right? You
Yeah.
got fans out there voicing their displeasure in the Deshaun Watson suspension. Like it was and to make matters worse, I don't know if you saw this. It was a father and son, like a father had his son hold up posters in support of Deshaun Watson, and it was just what kind of like you talk about Aaron Donald being a role model for kids. I'm gonna stop you right there. It is not athletes' jobs to be role models.
I know. Of course, I know
Kids,
that.
but in that situation, what kind of role model, what kind of example are you setting for your son that you okayed what you said on that poster and to have your son hold it up? Like, do better, dude.
I agree with you
Buffalo,
100%. And the Buffalo offense has some inconsistency. So they put up 42 points against a game Denver Broncos team, and then they throw up goose egg against the Carolina Panthers the next week. Real quick, just overreaction, underreaction, just right.
overreaction. That game against Carolina did any starter play?
I don't think so. I don't think anybody played that was worthwhile. Yeah,
Right,
but
like,
no starter played. Case Keenum came in and played poorly. Yeah, this is also right off the cuffs of having them to release the kid from San Diego State. So I imagine there's a little bit of distraction there as well. Moving on to the news, something, nothing, everything. So TJ, I got a bunch of stuff that I cooked up on the internet. Let's see if you think these are something, nothing, or everything. I got, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 things. First of all, let's start with San Francisco. San Francisco 49ers and Jimmy Garoppolo have agreed to a restructured contract, and he will not be traded or released. Something, nothing, everything.
It's something because if Trey Lance goes out and struggles, you're safe with that security blanket that is Jimmy Garoppolo. That again, for the people out there, you don't have to like Jimmy G, but Jimmy G won 70% of the games he started as a San Francisco 49er quarterback. He's 2 NFC Championship appearances. He's a Super Bowl appearance, and he's one overthrow or lack of effort away from being a Super Bowl champion. Like that is a thing. Say what you. So like I remember when that happened, me and David debated. Like you said, he overthrew it. I said no. Emmanuel Sanders has to lay out for that ball. Like that's what we went. It's something because again, you traded like you didn't trade the house, but did you? Yeah, you traded. You gave up a lot to get Trey Lance, and if
You
it
did,
doesn't
yeah.
work,
I mean, they're still in a first round pick next year too. So
right? And if it doesn't work, right? Not only does it look bad on Kyle Shanahan because I think Kyle Shanahan wanted Trey
yeah, I
Lance.
mean, yeah, and what's his name? John Lynch just kind of thrown him under the bus. I think this is something. The fact that they must not be seeing exactly what they want to see out of Trey Lance, so they want to keep this insurance blanket in their back pocket.
I also would like to know because like you can't sit here and tell me that there was no market for Jimmy G. Like
I just don't know where you trade him, dude. Like I look around the NFL, I just don't see an obvious place.
I would like to know, like, well, Seattle.
No, I think Seattle is content with just throwing the season away. Like for real, like they're not trying to win games.
Like looking back on it, Seattle, Carolina, Atlanta, Houston, even right. Like,
yeah, I think Atlanta and Houston are in the same boat. I do not think they're looking to win games this season, and so they are going to put the worst product, least competitive product on the field they can, and that's the way they're going to roll.
Giants, yeah, like
same deal. I think if Daniel Jones is not the guy, they're going to be drafting somebody early next year. Just real quick, because we didn't get an opportunity to talk about this during our last show, and I kind of wanted to bring it up. I just wanted to give our thoughts out to Brian Robinson, who was, if you don't know, was shot several times during an armed robbery. He's said to be doing well, said to be doing in recovery, and he did make the final 53-man roster today. Brian Robinson had a real opportunity to be a real contributor to that Washington Commanders team football team this season. And while I think he could come back this season, I wouldn't be banking on it. But it's just good to hear the positive reports coming out of Washington with Ron Rivera talking about him getting back on the football field and sounding like it's going to be okay. Because you hate for a guy who works all his life to get to this moment and have it taken away by somebody being selfish trying to rob him. It's heartbreaking.
And he's obviously in high spirits. Ron Rivera went to visit him at the hospital. He actually went to the practice facility today. So he's on crutches. He's in high spirits. He's smiling, but again, like you got to know, like deep down inside, like he's hurting. So I hope that the supporting cast that he has around him continues to keep him in high spirits because, again, like you said, like you work your whole life for this moment, and in the blink of an eye, it could have been over. And I'm just glad it didn't get that.
I'm glad this didn't turn into like a Sean Taylor situation.
Exactly.
Moving on, so going to Pittsburgh before we get into some of this trade stuff, because there was some crazy trades that happened like today and yesterday. Najee Harris dealing with the Liz Frank injury. Apparently he's going to just tough it out for the season, but he's got a Liz Frank injury, and he's still going to be good to go week one, but as we've seen with the NBA side of things, Liz Frank injuries is nothing to sneeze at. Something, nothing, everything.
Who was this again?
Najee Harris.
Oh, Najee. Yeah, and considering who that is and what he means for Pittsburgh, I kind of that's everything. Like you
everything. It's 100% everything, dude.
Look, and Najee Harris had 318 touches last season, give or take 10 or 20. I'm not joking. Like he was up there. Like he had.
Yeah. He may have broken the rookie record for touches in a season. But yeah, he sustained a Liz Frank injury in the first day of training camp. He just came back and he played his first preseason game this past weekend on Sunday, I think it was. He remains on track to start week one against the Cincinnati Bengals, but this is something that if you are, I hate to even bring it up, but if you're a fantasy owner, this is something you should be concerned about because Liz Frank injuries can go from bad to worse.
Yeah,
this is everything.
This is everything. This is everything.
Kellen Mond, as we predicted on the last time we did a show talking about preseason football, Kellen Mond no longer a member of the Minnesota Vikings. Something, nothing, everything.
Nothing. Like,
It's something. I think Kellen Mond had some upside when he was in college. I was a big fan of him coming out. I don't know if that's only my own personal bias, maybe too. But I thought Kellen Mond was going to be decent as a pro,
no,
and he has not been at all.
no, you're not alone. Like there was a lot of people. There was a lot of people who kind of thought that was in the same boat as you. They also kind of thought that Kellen Mond could eventually be the successor to Kirk Cousins, take that job over if Kirk Cousins didn't come out and play well enough. And I'm like, what? I'm like, what standard are y'all holding Kirk Cousins to? All right, like look at Kirk Cousins' numbers. Like the guy's never been bad. Right?
Oh, dude, Kirk Cousins has been super good everywhere he's played. So,
like Kirk Cousins has never been bad. But so it's I don't know. So something came out where they looked at two teams. They looked at the Raiders and the Vikings drafts and Bill Belichick's drafts over the last 3 years. They are not 4 years, including this. Like they are not good.
Speaking of the Las Vegas Raiders, Alex Leatherwood released waived after one season in Las Vegas. This feels like vindication for myself because when it happened in the draft, I talked about the Raider reach and I tore this pick apart. And look at this now. This is like they're like. I don't understand why you wouldn't try to trade him even to get anything back because just straight releasing him puts so much dead money on your cap next season, like more than it would be if you kept him on your roster. He was such a disaster. We're just gonna take the cap hit. We don't care. We gotta get rid of him. This is everything. This is how a dumpster fire Las Vegas has been. It's basically under the tutelage of John Gruden, a dumpster fire, and this is everything. You draft a guy in the first round, you expect him to be a starter. You don't expect to release him a year later.
So it's John Gruden, and don't forget they hired a team analyst to be his GM, Mike Mayock. Mike Mayock was running TV. I don't think any prior GM experience, and now So I found it. Raiders draft pick from 2018 to 2021, right? 2018, second round pick, PJ Hall, cut after failing his physical. Third round pick, and this is still 2018, Arden Key. Remember Arden Key? Released. 2019, first 2019, first round pick, Cleveland Farrell, Josh Jacobs, Jonathan Abrams, all denied 5th-year options. Trayvon Mullen traded for a conditional 7th round pick.
I literally was just about to bring up Tyrone Mullen, but go ahead.
Trayvon Mullen, 2020, we already know what happened with Henry Ruggs and Damon Arnett. We already know what that was national headlines, right? Henry Ruggs is way after vehicular manslaughter. Damon Arnett is way after going on IG Live with AR-15s, right? Like, dude,
he was traded. He was released from the Chiefs, a team that they could use him. So.
Third round pick, running back / wide receiver Lynn Bowden traded to the Dolphins, who also got cut today by the Dolphins. Wide receiver Brian Edwards traded to the Falcons, and Tanner Muse is released. And now 2021, Alex Leatherwood released after one season. Those are the draft picks of the Raiders in the first, from 2018 to 2021. Talk about a Raider reach.
Talking about the Raider reach. All right, so moving on, we got a couple more trades. I was going to talk about the Tyrone Mullen one, but you kind of just touched on it, so I'm going to skip it. Ross Blacklock and a 2023 7th-round pick. Ross Blacklock was a first-round pick of the Houston Texans, I think in 2019, not that long ago. Traded to the Minnesota Vikings for a 2023 6th-round pick. Something, nothing, everything.
I mean, I get this seems like it's just trading the trade. You get what I'm saying? Like it.
I mean, the Minnesota Vikings gave up 1 billion yards on the ground during their final preseason game, and they were like, you know what? Let's trade for a defensive tackle who is falling out of favor, who was a former first round pick, I actually think this is a really savvy move by Minnesota. This is for sure something. I think if they end up, being competitive this season and don't give up a billion yards on the ground, this is a smart move. Smart move, something.
I'll let you have that one. You ain't gonna get none out of me.
They ran for 148 yards and ran for 5.9 yards per carry against the Minnesota Vikings in their final preseason games. All four of their running backs had at least 4 carries and 23 yards. Mike Boone was a standout, averaging 8.8 yards a carry. Yeah, so this is something. It's a solid move for Minnesota. I like it. Moving on from there, the second trade that I want to talk about has to do with the Philadelphia Eagles and the New Orleans Saints. Chauncey Gardner-Johnson. I believe this is the guy who got called. Who they didn't. He had a call that basically cost the Saints a playoff game in some season. The Saints received a 2033 fifth-round pick and a 2024 sixth-round pick, conditional based on whoever has the lower of the picks between the Eagles and the Saints. So Gardner-Johnson going to Philadelphia, adding another good corner to an already deep cornerback room. Something, nothing, everything.
It's something because this is literally the Eagles saying, "All right, Jalen, it's on you now." Right? Like it's on you. Like we sink or swim on your play. Like I have done everything. Well, I've done more than everything. I've done more than enough to ensure this team's success. Right, I've done more than enough to ensure this team's success, and it's on you to play well. It's on you to hit your targets. This is something like it might be closer to everything because the Eagles are clearly going for that Super Bowl push. Like they are putting all their chips in the middle. They are going for it. The Eagles are going for it.
This is something. As I talked about during our NFC division preview, we talked about who we thought was going to be the playoff teams coming out. I thought the Eagles were going to win the NFC East. I actually think as long as Jalen Hurts can keep up his end of the bargain, the Eagles could have one of the best defenses in the National Football League next year. I know Jordan Davis didn't play well, particularly play well in his final preseason game, but this is a defense that's going to be loaded. Like they should be the best defense in the league. This is something.
Yeah, this is something. It also could be close to everything because again, this is a move you make. Like they are going for it. Like this is I'm pushing all my chips to the middle of the table. Like I am going for it. That's what that tells me. So yeah.
Michael Gallup passed his physical and has been activated off the PUP list. So could potentially be ready for week 1. You remember that he signed a big contract in the offseason. He basically made Amari Cooper expendable, or that's basically what happened. Michael Gallup passing the field off the PUP list. Something, nothing, everything.
It's something. Like, considering the injury that he had, it just goes to show that it's something for us. It's everything for Cowboy fans because like this alleviates some of the pressure off of Dak Prescott in the terms of I just have CeeDee Lamb to throw to and not much else. Like you got Jaden Tolbert, he's a rookie. That's a lot of ass to be like you have to be wide receiver 2 or 3 right now, right? So it's everything for them. It's something for everybody else. That means he should be back soon. Yeah. Like I'm not gonna say like I'm not gonna give it.
I don't think he'll be ready to play week 1, but week 2, week 3, as long as you're gonna have him back, I think that's a big plus if you're a Cowboys fan because when you're coming off an ACL tear, especially how late in the season he had it, I think it's nice. Moving on to 2 guys actually on the opposite end of that spectrum. We're gonna start first in Buffalo. Tre'Davious White being placed on the physical of the PUP list. He will miss the first 4 games of the season at the minimum. Something, nothing, everything when it comes to the Buffalo Bills and Tre'Davious White being unavailable for the first 4 games of the year.
It's something. Like I get it. A lot of people tend to overreact during those first 4 games of the season, that first month of the season, because it's it's football. Like some certain teams that you have lofty expectations to, if they don't look right, if they don't look right that first month of the season, it's time to panic. Like it's statistically proven that Tom Brady's worst month of the season is the first month of the season.
I think because you have growing pains, you're kind of feeling each other out. You get new players on your roster. You haven't because you don't play a lot. Like you don't practice like how you used to. You don't play a lot of preseason games. So yeah, you're learning a lot in the first week of the season, first couple weeks.
Exactly. So it's but when you consider that what's Tre'Davious White is DB1 in Buffalo, right? Like that's something to consider. He's also had some injuries the last couple of years. So.
Yeah, I think this is for sure something. I don't think it's everything quite yet, but I'm not. It's for sure something. And then the last one, Byron Jones, another cornerback staying in the AFC East, placed on the PUP list / physically out for the last 4 games. I do not remember his exact injury. Let me go ahead and look it up real quick. But yeah, Byron Jones on the PUP list for the first 4 weeks of the season. That is coming from a Achilles. So Jones underwent ankle Achilles surgery in March, and the original timing is said to be cleared for football by early July. That has not happened. Apparently he's had some setbacks, and so he's going to start the season on the PUP list. Something, nothing, everything. Byron Jones.
That's everything.
I don't know if we're willing to say it's everything, but it's for sure something. You talked about the Philadelphia Eagles pushing all their chips in the middle. The Miami Dolphins have done the same. Like they were banking on Tua being productive, and they pushed all their chips in the middle.
Exactly. That's why it's everything. Right? We saw it was a severe case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde with the Miami Dolphins, right? You start off 1-7, 1-6, whatever, and then you just flip the script and you win the last 7 out of 8 games. But by that point, the damage is already done, right? You got to keep in mind that during that stretch, you went 1-7. We're talking about, you got to trade Byron Jones, you got to trade Xavier Howard, you got to get what you can for Mike Gesicki, and so on and so forth. Tua kept getting yanked for Ryan Fitzpatrick or anybody else not named Tua. Right, Jacoby Brissett. Brian Flores eventually did lose his job.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
And
you have a head coach that's going into his first coaching job with lofty expectations.
Man,
it's not a good recipe.
Lofty.
Yeah, this is a team. This is a team based on the Tyreek Hill trade. They expect to go to the Super Bowl, and I don't know. That might be too much. But yeah, let us know what you think about these takes. If you think there's something, nothing, everything. We're going to be wrapping up here. So the NFL season is only a week away. So the NFL, we're going to be getting into it tomorrow. I guess a week and 2 days, whatever. Tomorrow we're going to be breaking down some fantasy stuff. So you look out for that content. That's it happened a little bit earlier than in our normal show. I think we're going to start an hour earlier. Me and Izzy breaking down some fantasy stuff for you guys. And then TJ, me and you're going to jump back into the crossover on Thursday, and we're going to be talking about that Northwest Division in the NBA. Do a little bit of season preview, talk about the Utah Jazz, Oklahoma City Thunder, Minnesota Timberwolves, Portland Trailblazers, and Memphis Grizzlies. The last team of that too, right? Yeah. Hold on.
In the Northwest? No, they're not in the Northwest.
Denver, Minnesota, Oklahoma, Portland, Utah. So if you don't want to miss that content, I've been David Huffman, and right there is Mr. TJ Hopkins. And TJ, what we do here at the Prime, my friend?
We bring the heat, and I tried to find a GOAT talk, but I think I got one. I don't think it's a good one, though.
Yeah, we'll just do this. We'll do the GOAT talk another time, dude. No worries.
Yeah,
Okay, well, we'll be back here tomorrow. You guys, we'll be back here tomorrow. We will for sure do a Go Talk on the crossover, so stay tuned for that content. I've been David Huffman, TJ Hopkins. You guys all have a good night and stay safe out there. Peace out. Peace out, brother.